Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session Charting the Course, a CISO's Guide to Success in Cybersecurity. I am Reenal Vikaria and I'll be your host for the day. Before we get started, we would like to share a few announcements. For our attendees, the session will be in listen only mode and will last for an hour, out of which the last 15 minutes will be dedicated to Q&A. If you have any questions during the webinar or to organizer or a speaker, use the Q&A window. Also, if you face any audio video challenges, please check your internet connection or you may log out and log in again. Now about a speaker. Jessica Nemmers is a Field Chief Information Security Officer, CISO with Flair Data Systems. In her role, Jessica acts as an advisor to organizations, providing guidance on all aspects of cybersecurity, from developing strategies for protection and resiliency to implementing controls to meet compliance requirements. With over 25 years in the IT industry, Jessica's passion for security began while working in data center operations at Perot Systems, now Entity Data. She later became the first CISO at Commercial's Metals Company, CMC, where she built a cybersecurity program from the ground up. Jessica went on to become Chief Security Officer in the financial industry at Elevate Credit. As a board member and an experienced chief security officer, she works with security leaders, executives, and boards to establish a common understanding of cyber risk and improve the decision making process around cyber program investments. Jessica is a co author of the CISO Mentor and has received recognition as a trailblazer for women in technology by the Dallas Business Journal and as one of the Dallas 500 most powerful business leaders in North Texas by D Magazine. She is known in the Dallas Fort Worth community as the ballerina turned CISO due to her prior career as a professional ballerina. Her unique career journey has fostered passion projects focused on mentorship for women in technology and those wishing to transition into cybersecurity from other careers. Jessica is a proud mom of four grown children and works in Texas and Maryland, where she lives with her husband David. So, without any further delay, I would now hand over the session to our speaker. Over to you, Jessica.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction. So, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to talk about my career journey and really what being a CISO in 2024 looks like. So, as you have heard, I am known as the ballerina turned CISO. I was a professional ballerina before I made the leap into IT about 30 years ago. And as you learned, I found my passion for security in the data center. I was privileged to build a security program from the ground up. That was really exciting. Went on to be a CSO in the fintech space. And one of the things that I am so privileged is in 2020, I was invited to co-author the CISO Mentor. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the book later in the talk. And now I am a field CISO or vCISO. So I get to be a CISO for many, for different companies and different industries. And I even support current CISOs in other companies that need a little bit extra support, especially in the governance and risk management area. So let's talk a little bit about the Chief Information Security Officer role. It is a critical role in any organization, but what is the official job description? Well, when I became a CISO back in the day, really the focus was more of a traffic police officer. It was to protect and serve, and that's the motto of police officers in the United States. So I was really there to stop. I was there to stop people from logging into areas they shouldn't have, from picking up a USB device and plugging it into a computer, from hackers getting into our environment, or employees from clicking on a phishing email, or hackers stealing our information, or putting ransomware on our computers. And you know what? On a good day, I really felt like a superhero. I did. But unfortunately, we don't all have those days. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today is how the CISO role has changed over the last few years. In the past decade, being a CISO looks very different from company to company. Different organizations have different needs. And after being a dedicated CISO and CSO, I've now again transitioned to being a field or vCISO, able to support organizations where having a full-time CISO, they might not be able to afford it, or sometimes it doesn't even make sense. It might be too heavy-handed for that organization. The role has truly become just like these jeans on the shelf. One size does not fit all. As a CISO, it can really be frustrating and stressful. You come in the morning and it looks like, you know what, today's going to be a good day. Kind of looks like these people in the picture. But before you know it, that first email, that first phone call, the next thing you know, you're underwater. So since we're underwater, I wanted to talk about my hashtag for 2024, the cyber talent ecosystem. What is an ecosystem? Well, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it is the complex of a community of organisms and its environment functioning as an ecological unit. So why a cyber talent ecosystem? A strong security program is not just one person, not just one CISO doing the work or affecting the outcome for the organization. It is many people, the complex, playing a role in the program, just like all the units together within the ecosystem to make the program successful. Although sometimes we feel like superheroes, it's not really up to us to protect the organization. Luckily, most of the time we have a team there with us. Now, some of us have a dedicated team at the company. Some of us are working in a matrix team. So as the CISO, you might have a dotted line relationship to you. Or you could be using a managed service provider. Sometimes it's a mix of all of them, but you are the leader for this program. But a key to being a successful CISO is that you understand it's not only your role in the ecosystem that's important, it's the other roles as well. So let's look at some of these roles that are typical to a company within the cyber talent ecosystem. Understanding this ecosystem, we are the center. So it is really looking for a cybersecurity program. It's looking at the center of the program for cybersecurity. But working within this ecosystem, it's really important that the CISO understand that this is all about relationships within this ecosystem. So let's look at some of the areas that you will be working with during your time as a CISO. Number one, IT. We are not always the doers in the cybersecurity team. We are asking those in IT to help us, whether it's applying patches, applying fixes, providing the infrastructure for our solutions to run. And we're also partnering with application development. Think about those developers that are developing a product for our customers. If they are developing a product that might be insecure, it could breach hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of customer information. So it's really important that we're partnering with both of these groups. And a key partner, the CIO. Now, the CIO is often the CISO's boss. There are many CISOs that report up to the CIO, and both of you must work together. This could be one of the most powerful relationships in the company, driving the technology and securing it, or it could be a conflict of interest. It's really important that we're working together. And there's only so much budget. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Often a CIO is needing the same budget that you might be using for your cybersecurity program. The next area, think about the operations and research and development. Although they're not concerned about security, You must be, but you do not have ultimate authority over what they're doing in their area. Again, you must work with them as well. And there are areas, strategic areas and partnerships within the business and these executives. This would be internal audit, compliance, risk, maybe HR. These are your true business partners, and they are there to support you as well as you supporting them. And I'll talk about a situation where my strategic relationship with internal audit actually got funding for my program one time. What about the CFO? Well, the CFO is the one that's managing the budget, and they're going to be the ones probably giving you the budget for your program. But again, sometimes I've seen for the CIO or the CISO that's reporting to the CFO. Why? Because in technology, you're not bringing in revenue. You are a cost to the company. So again, this has to be very closely managed because you want to make sure that you're properly investing in the security program. Of course, we have the CEO, and often the CEO is asking, are we secure? Are we doing everything we need to be? What are the risks to our companies? They do not want to end up in the headlines of the newspapers, as many people have seen in the last few breaches. And last but not least, the board of directors, they're also asking those big questions. What else can we be doing? Are we doing enough? I'm going to talk about the importance of your relationship with the board in a later slide right now. More and more, we see the headlines and the importance of having a cyber expert on the board. But most companies, they don't. So ultimately, we are responsible for communicating with the board, and the board is managing that cyber risk and the cyber governance. Okay, so when I began building my first security program, it was 2015, and I actually found this headline from that year. We were watching an uptick in phishing attacks in the beginnings of ransomware. And we were worried about them demanding, the bad guys demanding $300 to $500 for a decryption key. When these things were happening, the CEO and other business leaders were looking to IT to take care of this. This was a technology problem. We had to protect our endpoints from this ransomware, and they wanted to make sure that the IT department was, again, on it, and we were protecting our interest. But when this happened, think about it, this was 2015. Just 18 months later, we saw WannaCry. And in one weekend, 230,000 computers were infected. It was a huge wake-up call. And suddenly, this began shifting from an IT problem to a business problem. Now, let's fast forward to 2023 and 2024. These attacks are not costing hundreds of dollars or even thousands or millions. Some are up in the billions now. This is no longer an IT problem. When a cyber attack happens, organizations, shareholders, customers, consumers, they feel the effects of a cyber attack. This is one of the primary ways that my role has transitioned, again, from a technology leader to a business leader, and now a risk management professional as well. When that cyber attack happens, those who are affected want answers. And it's important to understand that the CISO may be responsible and accountable to answering, how could this have happened? I have found that there's not just one role that a CISO plays within the cyber talent ecosystem. We have a job description, and again, that's one thing, but to truly be a successful CISO, that job description really expands into different roles. In our book, The CISO Mentor, each of us took a chapter to tell our stories. Mine was the unexpected role of the CISO. So I wanted to share these roles that I found throughout my career. First and foremost, again, you are a leader. Whether you have a dedicated team at the company, or you are a matrixed organization, or you're working with a managed service provider, you are a leader of your function, and you are also a business leader. Often you do not have authority, but you have accountability. So being an influencer is really important. You must influence other organizations and other leaders within the ecosystem of why it is important to have a culture of cybersecurity and why they should consider cybersecurity for their functional area. If you have never taken sales training, this is a great time to take it. As a CISO, you will find that you are a salesperson, and the way you have to sell your program is often through a very concise sales pitch. So think about having this talent under your tool belt as you become a CISO. And next, some of you have maybe heard my story. As many of the stepping stones in IT, I was actually a trainer. And then I ran a global training organization. And I was so happy when I finally transitioned full-time into cybersecurity. I thought, oh, thank goodness, I won't have to train. Wrong. You spend a lot of time as a CISO educating others on the importance of cybersecurity. To this day, like right now, I am conducting some form of training. Along with your sales pitch, you're going to want to have some strong written communication skills. You're going to be an author, whether that's writing plans, policy, reports, proposals. You will be doing a lot of writing as a CISO as well. And unlike the policeman that I was when I started the program, where you are just there to block and tackle, you're not now doing that. You're more of a governor. You're overseeing the process and ensuring that the controls are in place and that they are working. As we mentioned before, you must be a partner in everything you do within the business. You running off and doing your own thing in your cybersecurity program will not earn you support from the business, and you are there to protect the entire organization. And last but not least, you are a trusted advisor, especially to that C-suite. That CEO is looking to you to provide advice. They are looking you to reassure them that you have the technology, the controls, the policies, the processes, and the people in place to protect the company and build business resiliency. What does the organization need most from you? I've seen CISOs enter an organization and say, I know exactly what this organization needs, but sometimes they haven't stopped to ask, what do they need from me? Or a better way is, what are they expecting from me? What makes these answers different? Again, there's not one size fits all. You being a CISO is going to differ from company to company. There are some core domains. We're going to talk about that with this program. But the maturity of the organization, the industry that they work in, their size, challenges, your funding, the corporate culture, the climate, the support that you have from your C-suite, your customers, all of these go into you being a CISO for that organization, and it'll make it different from company to company. Okay, we've now spent the last few minutes talking about the CISO position, but let's talk about building an effective program. Let's start with what you have now. Assess your current security posture, the inventory, specific compliance requirements for this organization. And then look at the risk. What is the greatest risk to this organization? Different organizations and different industries are going to face different risks. The CISO doesn't really know the answer, especially when they're coming into the company. So you must understand the risk from enterprise risk. Again, maybe the compliance from the compliance department or internal audit. Look, and again, the C-suite, the CISO, the CFO, they are all going to help you build that risk profile for the company. And you must be aligned. You can go off and do your own thing for your security program, but that is a way that you are not going to win support. You cannot act autonomously within the organization. Your program goals must align with the business goals, the compliance drivers, the needs for the business to basically stay in business. You've also got to prioritize your actions. You can't do everything at once. There's not enough time, there's not enough people, and I guarantee you there's not enough money. You want to look for that 20% of effort that's going to give you 80% return on investment. It's a good goal to keep in mind when you're really deciding what should I do first. Oh, and by the way, that 20%, that's probably going to be the most high risk area for your organization and the risks that you're trying to mitigate. That's going to be your priority. Once again, partnering with your key roles within the ecosystem. Okay, so I mentioned this before. Here's my real life example. When I was building my security program, I needed a vulnerability management solution to support our new vulnerability management program. Again, remember, WannaCry was taking advantage of old patches that people had not patched their computers. So it was really expensive. I needed a scanning solution to do internal and external scanning, identify configuration problems, missing patches, and they just did not have the funding for me and my program. Well, partnering with the head of internal audit, she saw the need that there was a compliance driver to have a vulnerability management program. We had to prove that we have one. So she went to the CFO and said, we need a vulnerability management program. I am going to fund the solution. There we go. I got my vulnerability management solution from internal audit. See, this whole ecosystem works for your advantage. And again, we worked in partnership to build this program. It was great. Again, very powerful within the ecosystem. One thing I've learned by this time, sitting again as a CISO and a CSO, Chief Security Officer, I've not been as hands-on as I used to be. I used to love the technology, the investigation, the threat hunting, but the higher up you go in the organization, and again, as relationships become more important, you will find yourself moving away from the technology. You are truly the conductor of that orchestra. You're no longer being asked to play one or two instruments that you used to play. You are there to make sure that, just like the conductor, all of the members of the orchestra are playing their instrument in unison to create that unified sound. Lately, I have found myself focused more on governance, risk and compliance, GRC, and less on technology-related issues with my clients. Why? For many organizations, these new regulatory regulations and compliance requirements have been introduced with an effort to drive transparency and accountability for cybersecurity practices. As a CISO, you might not need to know every single requirement, but it's critical that you have a broad understanding of compliance standards, frameworks, and the controls required for the company to support your cybersecurity program and for the company to be in compliance. Again, here's where partnership with the organization's risk, compliance, audit, and legal teams are critical for your success as a CISO. Also, with trust and candor built through the relationships in the ecosystem, you can ensure that compliance is not just a checkbox at the organization. This is extremely dangerous when there is an assumption that meeting compliance requirements equals a secure organization. They're not exclusive. It takes both security controls and making sure that you're meeting compliance requirements. Okay, let's talk about communicating with the board. Many of you might have seen a lot of articles lately on the importance of the CISO being able to communicate with the board. Not every board has a cyber expert. In fact, many do not. It's critical that the CISO has developed executive communication skills and business acumen to be able to communicate your cyber program updates, concerns, asks, and unfortunately, sometimes bad news. Building credibility with the board is a careful and calculated process. Understanding what they are coming together and talking about, as well as what they are concerned about, is an important foundation to the successful communication with the board. Here's my example of what I have done and I have seen other CISOs do when speaking to the board. You listen, they are saying that they want meat, cheese, bread, and it needs to be round. You got it. You know exactly what they're looking for, and you are ready to present it to them. They look at you with either confusion or just pure frustration. You missed the mark. You see, this is what they were talking about: meat, cheese, bread, and round, but this is what you delivered. They wanted a pizza, you came with a burger. We don't always speak the same language. So coming and speaking with technical acumen to a whole group of people that are speaking business language just will miss the mark. Okay, I don't want you to come away from this presentation thinking that I said that technology is not important to the CISO. It's critical to have the right solutions in place to support your program and strengthen your security posture. But as a CISO, how do you keep up with so many security solutions and new emerging technologies? Well, as a CISO and a CSO, I always relied heavily on my value-added reseller, my VAR. And the company I work for, Flair Data Systems in Plano, Texas, we are a VAR, and I am there to help other companies kind of weed through what technology is right for them. I also have to understand so many new security solutions, those who have merged together, and those emerging technologies. I'm part of different CISO groups. I attend webinars such as this one and conferences. It's important to be a continuous learner and join with others in the community to continually learn, because whether it's a new technology or a new strategy to support your security program, you will be relying on others. You're never alone, which is great for this community. One of the most powerful things that happen within the cyber talent ecosystem is that everyone understands their role and impact in cybersecurity for the organization. Working together in this shared model, this cybersecurity helps focus the culture of accountability and security awareness. You want a security awareness culture within the organization. And again, you've partnered with all of those leaders in the ecosystem. This automatically kind of helps build it from the ground in. And it supports initiatives around user engagement and testing, and it holds everyone accountable for the security of the company, whether that is infrastructure or data security. Let's switch gears, so to speak, and talk about the now EC Council CCISO program. One of the reasons why we wrote the CISO Mentor book was to help those pursuing a career in cybersecurity and wanting to work up to being a CISO. At the time that we, the authors, became CISOs, there really wasn't anything for us. We kind of had to figure it out, failures and successes along the way. Yes, there were certifications such as the CISSP, which I am, and the CISM, which are still very valid today, but there really wasn't a certification program for CISOs. We didn't have one that especially covered the domains that are important to understand as being a CISO and future cybersecurity leaders. The EC Council CCISO program is designed with relevant domains to support CISOs now and in the future as this role continues to evolve. I pulled these quotes from the EC Council website. What a powerful statement with the business of security. It's such a true statement. Again, as a CISO, I've understood I can either secure the business, which, hey, I'm a superhero, I secured the business, or I can enable the business to operate securely. The second one is going to win support, especially again with your C-suite and your board. Okay, as we're wrapping up here, I wanted to offer some final thoughts. Again, one size does not fit all. With either being a CISO, being a CSO, or a cybersecurity program, it's going to look different from company to company, whether it's your job as the CISO or how you orchestrated your program. This is not a solo role, though. You will have support within the cybersecurity community and also within the cyber talent ecosystem of your company. It's important to develop that business acumen. You've got the technology background. Now it's time to be a business leader, because ultimately you need to build relationships. As a CISO, you've got to support the business. You are managing cyber-related risks and compliance requirements for the entire organization. And you want to make sure the operations are operating securely. This impacts everyone, not only the company, but the consumers, the shareholders. And again, just thinking about what's happened in 23 and 2024 so far, customers and consumers feel the impact of a cyber attack. It's a lot of responsibility on the CISO, isn't it? Okay, so thank you all for your attention during this time. I'm going to turn it back over to our moderator and we'll have some time for question and answer.
Thank you very much, Jessica, for delivering such an insightful and informative session. We found the webinar very engaging and hope it was valuable for you as well.
Thank you.
So before we begin with the Q&A, I would like to inform all the attendees that this session is in sync with EC Council's CCISO program. EC Council Certified Chief Information Security Officer CCISO certification is an executive level program that teaches information security concepts from a management and leadership perspective. It covers all the components required to succeed in a C-level cybersecurity position, including audit management, governance, information controls, human capital management, strategic program development, and financial expertise. Recent LinkedIn data indicates over 5,000 Chief Information Security Officer (CISOs) job vacancies worldwide. According to PayScale 2022, CISOs in the United States can earn an average annual salary of $1,66,357 USD. CISOs eligibility criteria are: a minimum of 5 years of experience is required in any 3 of the following 5 domains. First, governance and risk management. Second, information security controls, compliance and audit management. Third, security program management and operations. Fourth, information security core competencies. And fifth, strategic planning, finance, procurement, and vendor management. If you're interested in learning more, please participate in the poll that's going to be conducted now. Let us know your preferred training mode and we will reach out to you. So, Jessica, should we proceed with question and answer?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so the first question is, when things go pear-shaped, why the CISO is the first person to be fired?
Oh, that's a difficult answer. Well, typically because you are in charge of the cybersecurity program. And I think that's what's made our jobs so very difficult is, again, you don't have the responsibility. You can't even make things happen all of the time, but suddenly you have the accountability. So as a CISO, it's very important before you assume that position that you fully understand the support from your C-suite. Basically, you want to make sure that they're not going to place all the blame on you, that they are going to take shared responsibility in the cybersecurity program. There are also areas that are being discussed now where CISOs are asking or demanding that they have director and officer personal protection insurance as just as the other C-suite has. So that's something that's changing and something that for larger organizations that the CISO should be speaking with their leadership about to protect themselves from legal claims.
Thank you for answering that. We'll move to our next question, which is, what are the current trends in CISO's work culture?
You know, that's interesting, a CISO work culture. I believe you might be asking maybe who the CISO reports to. Are we often in the office? Are we working virtually? That one's hard again to answer because from company to company, the CISO role is very different. But typically, CISOs are now reporting to legal. Sometimes they report into audit or risk. Less into the CIO because they are now, there's so much about the regulatory climate that is driving the need for the cybersecurity program. So it's more of a partnership with the CIO in the IT and technology areas than it is the reporting structure. That's what I've seen recently.
Thank you for your insights. Let's transition to our next question. How should the CISO approach with informing executives on using legacy hardware software is a huge risk for a company and get budget approved for the systems to be upgraded?
That's such a good question. And again, that goes with the WannaCry situation that happened. So coming to the board, the C-suite or the board and saying, we've got to get rid of all this legacy equipment. It's just vulnerable and it's going to get attacked. They might be saying, we don't have the money to change over our entire business operation and rip and replace all of that technology. So first, using empathy and understanding what is possible and what is not possible. So what you are really talking about, instead of we need to replace this old outdated legacy equipment and these systems and applications, is the risk to the business. We estimate that this is a high risk and highly likely compared to, and you can give some statistics, you can show examples of it happening in other companies, but if this were to be compromised, which we are presenting a high risk, what do you think the downtime would cost the company? So you're presenting risk, and then you're turning this into dollar signs, so cost, and start working there. And if they say, well, you know, for instance, let's talk manufacturing. Our mill produces $1 million a day. So if this was compromised by a threat actor, not only could we be paying the ransom to get the decryption key, or we might be faced with that, while this is all going on, we could be losing $1 million a day. So suddenly that helps them understand the urgency and the cost of not managing that risk. Now, are they automatically going to say, okay, fine, we're going to change over all of our infrastructure and all of our business operations overnight? No. So next is where you come in as the advisor and say, here are some of the areas we believe that we can secure these vulnerabilities, understanding that we cannot replace them right now. So how much is that going to cost to implement? And then you can come up with that plan and a timeline of moving toward a more secure environment, whether again, that's an outdated system or outdated equipment and vulnerable. So, and work with the vendors also to see if there is something you can do. If the patch isn't available, what else can you do to secure that area? I've definitely been faced with that.
Thank you for answering that. We'll move to our next question, which is how many years of experience should we have before taking the certification?
At least 5. And I love that this CCISO certification, just like the CISM, CISSP, some of the higher level certifications, if you all notice, it's not about just taking the exam. A lot of people think, well, I'm certified because I passed the exam. The reason why you have experience with the exam is to make sure that you are holistically ready. Some people are great students. They can study and they can pass an exam. But we need to know that you've had experience, real world experience to apply these learning lessons. So yes, I would definitely say at minimum 5 years. I transitioned full-time into cybersecurity after being in IT for 20 years. So there are a lot of experiences. And again, I was in a lot of different capacities within IT. Many of them were not technical, but they built up my business acumen, my communication skills, my written communication and verbal, and all of these went into forming my skills as a CISO and a CSO.
Thank you for answering that, Jessica. We'll move to our next question, which is who is accountable and who is responsible for cybersecurity? What is the difference between cybersecurity director and CISO?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, the easy answer is again, it's different from every organization, right? Ultimately, and I'll take a publicly traded company so we can talk about the board. Ultimately, the board is responsible for the cybersecurity program, right? They're the ones that are managing the risk for the organization. They are directing the activities and they're the governors to make sure that everything is in place to manage that risk. Now, again, why do we point to the CISO? Because they're head of the cybersecurity program. So that's where, if we're building and we're very intentional about the cyber talent ecosystem, it is a shared responsibility. Now, the difference between a director and a CISO, again, this is Jessica Nemmers' opinion and from my experience. The director level sometimes can be another internal title for the CISO. A CISO is really a role. So your title officially could be director, and it could be one and the same. In other organizations, the director may be more focused on the technology and the solutions and the controls and the cyber incident response team, the threat management team, more the technical aspects of the program, where the CISO is more responsible for the business relationship, the business processes, the business controls, and the business acumen. So again, really with it being so diverse right now with the role, the title could be actually different from company to company.
Thank you for answering that. Our next question is for you. How does your day look like as a VCISO, fractional CISO? Could you be held liable if you are a contractor?
That These are wonderful questions. Thank you guys out there. Okay, so my day as a VCISO is very dynamic, which I really love. It's a lot of switching gears. So it depends what engagements I am involved in at that time. Now, there's different models as a VCISO. For me, I have some engagements that are start to finish, and maybe I'm conducting an assessment on your company. So we're doing a security assessment, and that's, for HIPAA or, PCI, different compliance requirements. That's a start and finish. So maybe that week I'm doing interviews, I'm gathering data, I'm looking at controls, I'm writing the report. And maybe there are other times where we are doing a cyber incident response plan. So then maybe if I'm not doing an interview with one company, I am sitting at my desk, I am drafting a cyber incident response plan for a company. And then maybe 2 weeks later, I'm conducting a tabletop exercise to vet that plan and to educate both the cyber incident response team and the executives about that plan. Maybe I am looking at some controls. I'm on an operations meeting as their VCISO. I'm looking at the alerts that have come in. I've looked at their controls. I've looked at their solutions. And maybe I'm having yet another call with yet another company, introducing myself and listening to their needs and trying to help them look at their security strategy. Remember that 20% for 80% of return on investment? I'm helping them identify what that 20% is. So let's see, that is kind of my day as a vCISO or fractional CISO. Can we be held liable for a cyber attack or data breach? In our company, we have chosen to include an indemnity clause within our statements of work that clearly state that we are there in a capacity of an advisor. So we are in an advisory capacity. We are here to guide you on best practices to secure your environment. We, as any CISO at any company, we don't have ultimate control. We can put in $1 million worth of cybersecurity solution, but it just takes one human to misconfigure it, put it in the wrong place, miss an access control, or a human to click on the wrong phishing email, and it's still bypassing those solutions. So no, as a vCISO, and again, at Flair Data Systems, I can't speak for what other companies are doing. We indemnify ourselves from any liability for a cyber attack or data breach.
Thank you for answering that. Our next question is regarding breach again. If a breach occurred to an organization due to a risk that was identified and brought to executives and boards, but was denied of reducing or removing the risk, how can the CISO approach without doing a "I told you so" moment?
Documentation, that's a wonderful question. Documentation, documentation, documentation. And formalize that process. You as the CISO should have a risk register. When you identify, say there's a vulnerability, you have identified this vulnerability, you have added it to the risk register. This needs to be presented to the leaders within the cyber talent ecosystem. And the CISO is not responsible for accepting risk. You do not accept it. Someone in the business has to accept it. You are presenting it. If it is not accepted, or if it is accepted, but it's not remediated, then someone from the business should formally be signing off. There is a signature, there is an email, there was meeting minutes. In the meeting, they said, at this time, we are not going to do anything to remediate this risk. We're not going to transfer it. We're not going to remediate it. We're going to accept it. And you have the date that they did. Again, is this going to keep you out of the headlines? Is it going to keep you out of trouble? Possibly not, but having that formal process and that documentation is very powerful. So you cannot be, as we say, thrown under the bus or blamed, because again, it was not your responsibility to accept that risk or remediate it. It is your responsibility to identify it and present it.
Thank you for answering that, Jessica. We'll take last question for the day. Uh, what foundational knowledge should we acquire before pursuing the certification, particularly when lacking experience, in order to gain the necessary expertise and ensure success in the exams later?
That's a really good question. I would say make sure that your functional areas are tight. So if you need to study for a specific area, if you are lacking in, for instance, threat management or cloud security configuration, maybe you need to understand more about application security because you haven't encountered that. So number one, kind of shore up your portfolio on the technical acumen side, but start looking at business webinars, maybe an online business course, just understanding how business works, understanding what executives are talking about in boardrooms. I will give you a hint. The executives are not talking about why we should choose, Cisco over Microsoft, or why that vulnerability scan did not go through. They are looking at things about the business and recognizing that you are in business to make money. Unless you are a CISO of a nonprofit organization, which I don't know anybody that is, but you are in business to make money. So they are looking at what can we do for innovation? What can we do to gain more market share? What can we do to get ahead of our competitors? What are we making sure that we're managing risk-wise? It's not always a cyber-related risk. It could be a regulatory risk. It could be a hostile takeover by another organization. It could be being sold to another organization. So really understand business and then understand concerns of business leaders, because then you can better empathize as the CISO what they're up against and why maybe you're thinking it's just, why aren't you funding my cybersecurity program? But you'll understand how dollars are allocated and why it's such a difficult decision.
Thank you for sharing such insights. Thank you so much once again, Jessica, for addressing all the question and answers.
Thank you, Renal, and I appreciate your introduction. It was so warm and welcome. I wish everyone the very best of luck in your journey. Find me on LinkedIn. Let's get connected. I will follow your success as well. And thank you to EC Council for the invite to be able to present today. I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure to have you with us, Jessica. We are looking for more and more sessions with you. Before we conclude the webinar, would you like to give a small message to our audience?
Yes, again, I wish you the very best. Take it one step at a time. Do not become overwhelmed. And just remember, there's not one size fits all. So you are not having to fit yourself into a certain mold. You will be able to grow in your journey, but be ready for change. This role is changing almost monthly, it seems right now. So be open to stepping stones in your career, and study hard. Keep in touch. You are supported in a community. And again, I wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you so much, Jessica.